A warm welcome to everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. In today's webinar, we will discover the three HR mega trends that will impact your HR agenda for 2021. My name is Ashna, and I am an HCM solution consultant at Ensaan Technologies and your host for today's webinar. We will be recording this session and I will share it with you post the webinar. Please be sure to type your questions into the question box in your control panel during the session. Moving on to a quick introduction to Ensaan. Ensaan Technologies is a boutique HR technology company with headquarters in Dubai and offices across GCC. We provide solutions in four areas within the HR technology domain: operational HR management, strategic HR management, talent acquisition, and learning and development. Ensaan represents many of the leading and innovative global HR technology vendors in the region. We sell, implement, and support the solutions in the region. Our speaker today is Remy Malenfant. Remy is the Director of HR Innovation and Customer Experience at UKG, HR Service Delivery, formerly known as PeopleDoc. He has more than 10 years of experience in HR. He's passionate about the impact of digital in HR. He helps organizations to develop and realize their HR strategy through technology and support them in optimizing and automating processes to improve service delivery as well as enhance the employee experience through technology-enabled solutions. Previously, Remy held numerous HR roles at global testing, inspection, and certification company Bureau Veritas, as well as consultancy roles at PwC and Capgemini. Remy is an international speaker and thought leader on HCM trends, hot topics, and global strategies. Let me give you all a quick introduction to UKG. UKG stands for Ultimate Kronos Group, and it is the future of PeopleDoc, which will become the HR service delivery arm of one of the largest cloud companies in the world. At UKG, their purpose is people, and they believe that organizations succeed when they focus on putting people first. UKG's HR service delivery platform includes case management, process automation, and employee file management, and it empowers HR managers and their employees to boost productivity, increase employee engagement, manage global compliance, and meet the challenges of tomorrow. With more than 12,000 employees around the world, UKG's own workplace culture has been named a best place to work all over the world, including consecutive years on Fortune's 100 Best Companies to Work list. Now, without further ado, I will turn the time over to Remy. Over to you, Remy.
Thank you, Ashna, and hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today. You're going to hear, I have a very thick French accent, so obviously I'm French, based in Paris. As Ashna, so I'm the director for HR innovation and customer experience at UKG, but before that, I was working in HR. And part of what I really like about the HR technology side of things, I'm still pretty much involved with a lot of discussion with the HR leaders all around the world and trying to always understand what are the key topics for them or the key questions that pop in their mind almost every day when they want to do their job in the best way. So obviously, I will talk a lot about technology, but my point is really to talk about HR and all the different trends that are today affecting people and organization. Also talking about how the very weird year that we've been through in 2020 has also helped us to better understand what's happening in the world of HR. Just quickly also about UKG, as Ashna presented, we're a big company helping HR technology, helping HR organization all around the world. I think one of the things that I'm the most proud of is that we have more than 2,500 customers, and we are having a lot of conversation with them. to really understand how they do their job, what's important for them, which is helping us, of course, to develop the best technology, or at least we try to have the best technology to support them. But it's also, for us, a great way to really understand what are their priorities. So that's how we've been coming up with those mega trends affecting people and organization, and we're going to talk about that. And as Ashna said, if you have any questions, if you want to comment on this, please feel free to use the chat. First of all, I think it goes without saying that when we look at 2020, or the year or the year and a half that we've all been through, I think never before we have faced such a sweeping disruption. There have been a lot of things happening all around the world that has really maybe changed the way we look at our job, or the way we look at our mission. And of course, I'm talking about the COVID situation, but unfortunately, it's not only that. But I mean, it's super important. We need to address that today, of course. What I find very upsetting or very sad is that I'm doing this presentation very, very often. I almost always have to update these slides, which is really painful. But if we look at the number we now have, and we all know that we now have more than 5 million worldwide that's happened because of the pandemic. So obviously the health situation is dramatic, and it's getting better, but I think it's something that will stay in our mind for quite a long time. Now that we are moving slowly back to normal, maybe I think we'll start also to see all the different impacts of the pandemic, more on the business world, and depending, of course, of where you are in the world. But we are already starting to see some of those impacts, or some of those situations right now. More and more business or enterprise getting out of business. A lot of people getting fired, or salary adjustment being made. Of course, the long-term situation in terms of health is also going to be a challenge for many organizations and many governments all around the world. But now, if we take also a few steps back, and we think about what happened recently, that was unfortunately not the only thing. If we also look at the situation of our planet, the Earth, that is dramatic. So we had a lot of
Remy, sorry to cut you off, but your voice is breaking.
Okay. Well, I don't really know what to do about that. Is it really that bad?
It's fine now, actually.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
Sorry. Well,
No
so
problem.
don't hesitate if it's not making sense.
Yeah, go ahead.
So yeah, no, I was just saying. So if we look at all the situation of the planet, it's also dramatic. The environment is in a really bad shape, and we are seeing more natural disaster. If you think about hurricane or wildfires, like what happened in California or in Australia before, or a very big flooding, and unfortunately those are going to happen also in the future. On top of that, also it's very different from one country to another, but a lot of very important social issues have been raised recently. You can think about the Black Lives Matter in the US, but there are many other, very difficult situation. If you think about what happened in Hong Kong, or if you think about the situation in Lebanon, I think it has been also a very challenging time for almost everyone. But I think that's like really more the David. But I also think that this year, or what we've been through, is also a big opportunity, because never before did we have such an opportunity to improve the lives of so many at work. And if you ask organization or people the question, what did you learn from coronavirus, from the pandemic, there are sometimes some positive insights that we can take from the pandemic. One of them is that in many organizations, that was some kind of a moment and a time for people to really rethink about how they are organized, about how they do business, and try to maybe change a little bit the way not only they do business, but the way they look at things and the way they look at their at their environment. So I think that was a very important time for anyone. Now moving on to those 2021 megatrends, this is really what I said before, like, based on different discussions that we have with the HR leaders all around the world, but also based on research that we do, and also by having a look at the economic and political outlook around the world. We are seeing for 2021 three big megatrends, and of course I'd like to know what you think about that. So don't hesitate to comment. And we're going to go through all of them. The first one, we call it people before profits, which sometimes people smile a little bit because it can be a bit naive, but we'll take you a little bit more about that. Then we'll be talking life work synergy, and how this is also a key topic for HR leaders nowadays. And finally, we'll be talking about the rebirth of HR and how HR is maybe moving to a new role, and how HR is now reinventing itself in order to tackle all those issues. So let's have a look maybe at all those different mega trends that we are seeing, and that I think are changer and very important for HR to have in mind. So the first one, I call it people before profits. Of course, and all organizations, all companies are here to make profits. And if you don't work for, if your company is not profitable, then you're going to have a very tough situation, obviously. I was in a conference, in an event with Dave Ulrich a few days ago, and he asked people, okay, what is the first thing that you need to do in terms of employee experience? And a lot of people were talking about culture, about training, about different stuff. And at the end, he said, what is more important is that your organization is actually making profits. So there is no way that this is super important, of course. But I think that we are seeing a shift from shareholder value to stakeholder value. And more employers are also investing in their workers and in their community, because they know that is one of the ways to be successful on the long term. The funniest thing is that I'm not the only one saying that. I actually just paraphrased a quote from Jamie Dimon, who is the chairman and CEO of JP Morgan Chase. So I wouldn't call him really a philanthropist, but you can see that even in banks, in financial services, they are seeing this shift. How important it is for an organization to also think about the impact you have on your environment and on stakeholders. So it's not completely new, but what we're talking about here is corporate social responsibility. Of course, not a completely new topic, but I think it's definitely on the rise, and it's becoming more and more important. And there are two main reasons why CSR, or corporate social responsibility, is such a hot topic right now. I guess the first one is because more and more customers are looking at the business practices of the companies they want to purchase goods and from Business News Daily. We have almost 90% of customers now who say that maybe they will delay or not make a purchase with a specific company if they don't have good business practices. But it's also very important for employees. And on the right here, you have some figures from a survey made by Deloitte, who said that actually 70% of employees now are really want to be sure that their employer are really going to take corporate social responsibility seriously. So it's super important for them, especially when they are looking for a new job and they are selecting their new employers. Then those questions, those points are really are going to be scrutinized now by more and more candidates. And if you look also about the different generations of workers that we have in companies, we can also see that this is on the rise, depending on the different generation. According also to Deloitte, so they did this millennial survey, which I think is very interesting, saying that you have 83% of the Gen Y and 75% of Gen Z, Generation Z, who believe that companies focus on their objectives rather than the whole of society. So the reputation, I would say, of companies or business is maybe not that good with those newer generation. But what is sure is that 86% of them, they said that they would prefer to work for a solution that has a direct productive impact on the world. So I think what we are saying now is that we used to be talking a lot about corporate social responsibility and maybe more as a communication tool, but now we know that it's something that is very top of mind for many candidates, and especially the younger generation. My conviction, honestly, is that it's not only the young people. I think it's everyone. If you're thinking about what we've been through in 2020 with health issue or the environment, being such a mess, I think that's a concern for all generation, and not only young people. So yeah, I think that now we are entering this new era, and I just love this quote from Isabelle Kocher, with the former CEO of Engie, which is a big energy European company, saying that now they will also be judged on their impact on society and the environment, and that's not really a question of whether you want to do that or not. That's something that is just now on business. So what does it mean for us, and what do we do with that in HR? Well, first at UKG, of course, we really believe that companies have to take that into account when they are building their strategy. The question of the purpose, of the shared purpose, of the goal of the objective, of the company is super important. You cannot really it's not only a question of communication. It's really important to make sure that you integrate those questions into your strategy with your employees. And I think part also starts with understanding what is important for your employees. So if I try to see, okay, how can we help? Maybe how the technology can have something to do with that. It starts with asking yourself a simple question, which is, what is important for employees? What are their concerns when at work, when they are at home? What are their main concerns? And part of that could be to have a look at what people are looking for, what are the different articles they are reading, what are the topics they ask you questions about. That's also maybe sometimes the first step to try to integrate this question of corporate responsibility and make it more operational. Start to ask yourself, what do my employees, what are they caring about? And I see that people are complaining about the sound. I'm very sorry about that. I hope it's okay. To another big trend that we are seeing now, life work synergy. Why am I not calling it life work balance or work-life balance, which is a more common term? First of all, because I think, I don't know about you, but it's very hard to call it balance, because there is actually not really a balance. I think that is also something that we've seen during the previous months, how it has been very hard sometimes to make a clear split, or to have a very clear line between your life at work and your life at home. And I think we're starting to realize now that this question of work-life balance, it's not really a balance. We are spending, of course, more time working than being with our family, which can be a bit sad of us. And at UKG, we like this question of, or this concept of the life work journey. meaning that what you are living at work is impacting who you are at home, and the other way around. And I think it's even more the other way around. What you're going through in your personal life is also impacting a lot your life work journey, or your area within the company. So we have identified several steps, or several stages of what we call the life work journey, but they are not really, linear. It's not one step, then another one, then another one. It can move from feeling at risk because you just started your job and you're afraid that you're going to lose your job, to maybe move to another stage, which is growth, where it's time where you are ready to learn and you want to train yourself and you want to get new skills, and then maybe you move to another stage. But what is happening in your life, in your personal life, can also really impact your life work journey. So, for example, let's say you have a new child, or maybe you need to take care of your parents who are sick, or maybe people are going through divorce. I don't know, different situations that can happen in their life. You moving from one stage and back to another stage where you don't really feel secure in your role. So we really try to incorporate that in in our thinking when we try to see how the technology help also HR. Now, what we've seen also during the last few months is that a lot of people all around the world have been working more than before, and work has become somehow omnipresent. So it's just an image, but I think it's interesting. If you look at what I put here on the connections to a VPN, so to a secure network. Of course, I'm not saying that it's completely correct, but it gives you an indication. We can see that on the average, people were connected to their VPN, so probably for work purposes, 2 hours more than they were connected before. So working from home for a lot of people was not really about having maybe a better work-life balance. It was about working more than before, and that's not only due to the pandemic. I think that's a trend that we are seeing from quite a long time. Now, of course, what are the new needs, or the new expectation from the younger generation? It's always interesting to have a look at that. I really like this survey from the Center for Work and Family at Boston College. Of course, it's for the US, but it can be different from one country to the other. But if you look at what the situation is right now in the United States, they're saying that only 20% of millennials, so are the largest generation, the labor force over there, only 20% of them said they would want to advance their careers if doing so meant losing personal or family time. And again, I think it's maybe more my gut feeling, but if I look at what happened also during the few last months, we've seen a lot of people trying to going back to the basics maybe, and going back to focusing on their family and their children, and that's becoming, of course, super important. It was already the case before, but now people are not ready to put work before their personal life, or at least they will have for really better condition. So all in all, what does that mean? It means that what happens in your life is also affecting your work. It means for us in HR that we also need to understand how people are living. We need to integrate also this in our thinking, not to always think that people are just here for with us, they don't really care about the company. It's really how can we integrate this question of the life work journey and making sure that it's part of the way we support employees. So we tried also at UKG to ask ourselves, what does it mean for us as a technology provider? And so, of course, we cannot really tackle all those different challenges. And the question of life for journey, it's really about people having different lives and being able to help everyone in a customizable way. That's of course very, very difficult. But we think that the technology can actually help here. And one of the results also of our thinking about that was to say, okay, how can HR actually better support people, especially when they need to be focusing more on their own life. And part of that was to make sure that you can provide them with services and in a modern way. What do I mean by that is we want employees to be working and being employees. It shouldn't be a burden for them to ask for support or to get paperwork if they need, for example, a certification or whatever. We should try as much as possible to make their life easier and to treat them as if they were also customers. And of course, it's not going to resolve all those different issues, but that's the first step. Like trying as much as you can to provide good services to your employee and don't make them life more complex than it has to be. And so part of that for us was also to see how people are consuming services. And of course, now more and more people want to do things in a digital way. They want to use their mobile phone to do a lot of transactions. They want everything to be simple, to be fast and very straightforward. So that's also why we decided to invest more in chatbots and to make sure that you can also have more human touch and more conversation-like support to your employees in the different areas of HR. Now, of course, if you take all this into consideration, I think we were also at a tipping point for HR, where the function overall has to reinvent itself. First of all, I think it's super interesting to see how HR is always trying to reinvent itself. We were moving from calling ourselves personal management. Then we've been talking about human capital management. Now you have companies talking about people experience or organizational capability. So the world of HR is changing a lot, and the word how we describe ourselves is changing a lot. And I think that's super interesting because maybe other functions of the company don't really do that. But I think now it's somehow time for change. Before that, I think we need some time to take some to do a reality check about who we are and what we do. And I was very surprised to see those surveys. I think we are at a time now where maybe sometimes there is no respect for HR. What I mean by that is that of course HR is a super important function, but sometimes people don't really always understand what we do and how we are bringing value to the organization. If you look at this survey from Deloitte, we have 80% of CEOs and senior executives who believe that their company's HR skills, lack of skills, is a significant issue. So people are saying that that HR really need to step up its game. That it's really time to get, and maybe the current set of skills that we have needs to change rapidly. Also, HR people, when you ask them that, they sometimes don't always have such a positive outlook about the function. That's coming from another survey from KPMG about the future of HR. And we had 3 out of 5 HR executives believe that the function will maybe become irrelevant if it doesn't modernize its approach. So, I think a lot of people realize that HR was a very key function during the crisis. But if you ask people also what we do and how they see ourselves, sometimes we can see that there is still a long road. There's a lot of things to put in place to better improve also our image. And I think now it's really the time. A lot of companies realize that in a time of crisis, what is more important is your people and making sure that people feel comfortable, that they feel safe. It's really also about making sure that you can reorganize your processes, reorganize your work, your business practices in a very quick and efficient way. And the key element for all of that is not IT, it's not technology, it's people. If you don't really explain to people how they are going to work now in the new normal, for example, if you don't communicate about the health and safety issues, then you're just going to lose the trust of people. So in many organizations, that was really the role of HR. And I think we've never been that much in charge of communication and employee relation, explaining to people, okay, this is what is happening, this is what the company is doing for you, and this is how we can help you. So I think the communication part and has been really given in the last month or in the last year and a half, and we need to keep this. Also, what is interesting now is that we are seeing a lot of languages, a lot of words changing when we talk about HR. So as I was saying before, we move from personal management to HR, and then maybe people experience. But if you look also about the new skills and competencies of HR, you're seeing more and more the word insights or analytics. And it's really related to what I was saying before. A lot of organizations now, they expect their HR function to be also to be really people advocates, to be really the one who can understand people, who can understand employees, who can really understand what they think, what they need, and of that, a big part of that, of course, it's to use a lot of data, and to be able to really quickly understand what people need, what they think, what their emotions are, and to react quickly on this. It's also about understanding that not everyone is the same, that you need to sometimes be able to provide customized experience or customized services to all your employees. But to do that, it starts from better understanding them. So really a big shift from being sometimes the admin part or the admin arm of an organization to be maybe a more strategic role where we are really the expert in people, in understanding people, and see how we can create the condition for the whole organization to be successful. Of course, a big part of that, and I work in HR technology, so that's obviously a key concern for me, is the role of technology. There is no doubt that now that in order to provide good services, to provide good support to your employees, it's not only about having the best processes on paper, it's also about having the right technology and making sure that you choose a technology that will actually fit people needs. Now, I think what is super interesting is that sometimes we may think that this is what we do when we select a new technology. If you ask, C-suite executive, you have 90% of them saying that they pay attention to people needs when they introduce a new technology or when they select a new technology, which is a good sign. But then when you ask people actually, or the staff, the workers, the employees, when you ask them if that's the same, if that's really the situation, you will have only 53% of them saying, okay, they took into account our needs when they introduce a new technology. So what do we take from that is that I think we need to, and it's difficult, it's really hard. We need to move from a situation where we think about how our processes work in HR and how we can be more efficient, more agile, and how we can better support the company, to really introduce more design thinking approach where we put employees first. How can I really make sure that the way I will support my employees or the way I will provide services to my employees is good for them? How do they look for the information? How they request for support? Those are questions that we need to ask, and that should be actually the drivers when we select a new technology. So it's not always about selecting the shiniest new technology or the most advanced one. It's really making sure that it's appropriate. If you have, for example, if you're in a company where all your employees are working from home, then obviously you need to digitalize a lot of your processes. Or if you have people who are always on the road and always moving, then maybe, you know, having a lot of transactions that they can do with their mobile is maybe more the priority here. So it depends, of course, from one company to another. I think the key point here is always to start from what do employees actually need. So I think now we are at a time where when you think about the HR function, we are moving from a situation where we were really in charge of the admin part of people operations to really being in charge of the employee experience, which is a way more strategic function, which can be different from one company to the other, but that's really what is expecting from us today. And again, it's not. I'm not saying that's the solution to all this, but we try to see also at UKG what we could do to help HR with that, with this question of mastering the employee experience. And part of that could be the to also integrate, you know, more some of the marketing techniques. And one of them is, for example, to have a look at employee satisfaction. So if you want to make sure really that you are supporting your employees the right way, it's as simple as that. Sometimes you need to ask them, okay, are you happy with how we support you? Are you happy with the way we communicate? Do you understand clearly our different policies? Do you need more services? So also starting with asking the questions and getting feedback from them in a structured way and in a way that you can actionate after, that you can turn into action, is also very key for HR now. So and I think that's going to be some kind of a conclusion for me. But we are now at a time where everything is sort of going back to normal. We also need to spend some time in HR now to think about what the workplace is. In some countries, we've had people who've been working from home for maybe a year. How do we get these people going back to the office? That's really a very complex question for some organization. But then it's not only about how people are going back to the office, it's also about how we want to to change the way we work in the workplace. Is it only a place to be and to do work, or are we going to work sorry, to meet with your colleagues and to exchange ideas and to be innovative? I think the way we are seeing work is going to change a lot. Another complexity for a lot of HR people in many organizations is how to manage the different situations that we have, or the different population. If you think about white collars who maybe can work from anywhere and maybe they can work from home, and blue collars who actually need to be in their in the plants or in the shops or in any place where they do their work, then we are also moving maybe to a situation where, by trying to do things differently, we might create some more differences maybe between employees. So definitely thinking about, okay, what does it mean to be at work, to work together? How can we better increase the collaboration and the resilience is definitely now well, it should be on top of the HR strategy for HR leaders. So definitely what we're looking at the admin part of work, where we're looking at how we can be more an advanced business partner. So I guess that was what I wanted to share with you, and to share also, a little bit about what's happening in the world and what are the different discussions that we have with HR leaders. I don't know if that's something that relates to what you are leading, but I think right now it's really the right time for many HR leaders all around the world to change not only the image of the HR function, because it's not only about the image, but to really think about, okay, how now we can maybe change the way we deliver value to the whole organization. I think that is a great challenge, and it's a great time to do that now that maybe things are going back to normal.
Great, thank you, Remy. Yeah, thank you so much for a great insightful session on all the three trends that have been going on, and hopefully it was helpful and interesting for the people who joined in us with us today. Now we will go ahead and take some time for questions. So please make sure that you put the questions into the question box in your control panel. Remy, we already have one question. Do you want to go ahead and answer that?
Sure. So it's about the work-life balance. Yeah. So the question is, most of the time we talk about work-life balance, but I use a different wording. I use life-work synergy. And so this person is asking me why. Is there a reason behind it? So yes, there is a reason behind it. So that's what I said quickly. And again, I hope that the sound was not too bad, but I think the expression work-life balance is just a myth. I mean, I don't know about you, but if I ask you, do you think you have a good balance between work and life? Well, I hope you can say yes. Personally, I think for the last 5 years, I can say no, because I think that definitely I've been more working than living, maybe, meaning that I've been spending more time at work than I've been spending time with my family and my friends. So also the idea is that the question of balance, I think, it's not a good question. There is no balance, but how can we make sure that we make the two worlds live together? So that's why we talk more about synergy, because it's also about the fact that what you are living in your personal life, when you're at home, for example, it's impacting the way you are at work. And so that's the example that I took before. Let's say you have something happening in your life. You have a new child, or maybe you need to take care of one of your parents who can no longer live by themselves. Then of course it's going to impact your personal life, and it will have an impact on your work life. For example, if you're a caregiver, then maybe you cannot work as many hours than before. So how also to take that into account? I think now we are in many organizations in a situation where if you want to work less, then maybe it's going to impact your career. And that's also something that we need to change. Having, integrate more the way we work, and changing working times, it's not always a bad thing. So that's, for me, really the question of life work synergy, how we also in HR need to change our mind about those topics, and know that there is absolutely no balance.
Thank you, Remy, for answering the question. I think someone has put up another question in the chat box, but not in the question answer box. Are you able to see that, or should I read it out?
Let me see. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. So in my company, we migrated to a cloud-based technology for more of self-service and offshoring model with HRBP. They're only for strategy. The business are still struggling to self-serve. The onshore HR are trying to give a great customer service whilst guiding on self-service. How do we balance customer centricity with self-service? That's okay. So that's a very good question, because I talk a lot about how technology can also help you to change the way you manage your HR operations. I think most of the time when we implement an employee portal, for example, what we try to achieve is to make sure that we can make sure that the basics are done in an easy way, that people can be able to find the questions the answers to their question by themselves very, very, very easily, which I think is possible. We see that with a lot of our customers. By implementing an employee portal, you can really reduce the number of cases that goes through HR, and people are really able to find the answers to their question by themselves, which is what they want, because that's how we are used now to use technology. But it's not because you put the technology in place that it's going to solve everything. So as for any new project or any new technology that you put in place. It's about change management. So part of that, I think sometimes it's just to explain why you're doing that. It's not only creating self-services capability just to make sure that HR will spend less time working on this. It's actually to make sure that HR will have more time to support employees in a better way for other questions or other situations where they need more support from HR. And I think part of that, just explaining what you're trying to do, what your strategy is sometimes a big piece of change management that we don't always do.
Thank you for answering that, Remy. We have a question from Frain. He says that, do you believe that digital tools will play a big role in the modern HR practices?
Well, yes. Short answer is yes, definitely. And it's not really about if we believe that or not, actually. And we are now in a situation where technology is there. We are using a lot of different systems, a lot of different technologies. I think that's from a survey from Josh Berzin. He says that on the average, an HR organization is using 11 different systems to manage their HR processes, their HR operations. So I don't think this is going away, definitely not. And doing things the digital way is also what employees are asking. I'm not saying that people want to do everything via tools. There is always a need for the human touch, but for the basics or for the more recurring questions, definitely this is how we are used to do that. I mean, today, let's be honest, when we have a question, when we want to know about something, the first thing we do is to check on Google, and then maybe we'll ask our friends. And I think that's also something that we should provide to employees.
Okay, that's interesting. There's another question from Mohammed. In your opinion, does HR practices have played a good role before COVID-19 or after COVID-19, and why?
Well, I think what is sure is that during the pandemic, we were in, and of course it was different from one part of the world to another one, but I think it was a shock for everyone, and we had to react very, very quickly. If I look, for example, at what I know best, which is what happened in Europe, a lot of companies have people working from home very quickly. We need to make sure that people will not be gathering at work and making sure that they will, have social distance and all that. So we needed to communicate about that, to explain to people what was happening, and I think it was a nice way for HR to show the value. I've seen in a lot of organizations HR being able to very quickly have everyone working from home, to very quickly communicate about health and safety policies, to very quickly explain to managers how to manage people who you don't see every day, to also talk about mental health, which I think was and it still is a very big topic. Now, I think the situation is that we have been asking more and more to HR during this last year. They've been doing a lot of things, from very strategic stuff like how to organize work from home, to maybe more operational question like how can I provide masks to all my employees. So it's a real struggle sometimes. You need to go from something very strategic to something very operational. And I think what is important is that we're asking more and more to HR. And if you think, well, let's just take the example of mental health. I really like the fact that now it's a top priority for almost all HR leaders that I'm meeting today. But the question is, how can I really do something about that? How can I really invest enough time on those critical issues if I'm still, doing reporting or managing payroll or doing a lot of administrative stuff somehow still manually or on paper? So it's all about making sure that if we want to tackle all those issues, we need to find the time to do that. And I think that's again, where the technology can play a key role here.
Okay, thank you, Remy, for answering that. I think we have one last question in the Q&A box.
Let me check that. Which one is it, Ashna?
It's by an anonymous attendee. It says, managing a workforce diversity and solving the intrapersonal and intra-group conflicts has not been an easy task for an HR. During the pandemic, some associates do feel discriminated or being dominated with regards to sending them in unpaid leave, making it an issue. The potential associates do not try to get dedicated to the work back. How can it be possible in post-COVID and now to retain potential associates and managing the workforce diversity?
Yeah, so that's a really good point. I think it's one of the many complex situations that we will have to deal with now in HR. I mentioned before the fact that we have different kind of populations. If you look at white collars versus blue collars during the pandemic, I don't think that everyone went through the same situation. Also explaining to people why sometimes you had to make them work less or to reduce the salary and then ask them to go back to work and being engaged. 100% that's a very difficult question. I think now for me the first step for this kind of situation, it's always communication. Explain, be transparent, make sure that you are open about the reason why you had to maybe let people go or why you needed to have to reduce the working time. It's just sometimes having the conversation can be really helpful, because if you don't really communicate openly about that, then you take the risk of people think that there is more than that it's not only about business continuity. So I think part of that is really to make sure that you are open and that you communicate with your employees, but definitely it's going to take a lot of time.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much, Remy. And I think we've covered all our questions. Is there anything else you want to cover before we wrap up?
Well, I just think that it's a great time for HR to also think about how we can do things very differently. And I'm always open to learning more about what HR is in many of organizations in many parts of the world. And I've been working a lot in Europe, in the US, a bit in Asia, but I don't know anything about the Middle East. So if you want to also share your experience with me, then please go ahead and connect with me on LinkedIn and tell me what you think and what it means for you. That'd be very great.
Awesome. Remy, do you want to wait a couple of more minutes and see if there are any more questions?
Of course.
I think we've covered most of it, but okay, I think we've got. Okay. Someone is saying that they will connect with you on LinkedIn. Yeah, thank you so much.
I'm glad.
Great. Okay, so y'all can connect with me or Remy for any further questions on LinkedIn. Remy, could you please go to the next slide? I'm also available via WhatsApp Business or via email, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn for any further questions. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. We appreciate you being here. Thanks again, and we will keep you posted about any other webinars happening in the future. Remy, I would appreciate, and I really appreciate your giving us time today, and thank you so much for giving us such valuable inputs about what's happening, what we all went through, and the future. and everything. Thank you. Thank you so much. It was a great session.
Well, thank you for having me.
So I'm going to close the session now and stop the recording. And I will also be emailing everybody the recording as well, to the attendees as well as the people who could not join. Thank you so much.